Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Once again, we are back with Dr. Mamiko, and I want to congratulate her on being our Professional of the Year. Always a pleasure to have you here. She's such a gem, and there's so much to the work that she does. Again, it's Dr. Mamiko Odegard. She's a professional coach, international best-selling author, and so much more. Welcome back, darling. How are you?
Well, thank you. I love being on the air with you and sharing this time and wish I were closer so I could give you a big hug for sure.
Thank you. I know I'm a little under the weather, but I'm going to get through it and always appreciate your time and you being here for us. Now, last time, let's jump back to the conversation for new time listeners. We were discussing three different ways to start conversations with people, right?
That's
And
right.
by doing so, you suggested that we show that we're friendly, caring, and taking that first step to really connect with someone. So let's just review a little bit for our listeners the three ways you mentioned that we can initiate conversations.
Fantastic. I'd be happy to do that. I just want to step back a bit
Yeah.
because I left your listeners with a homework assignment, and that is for them to every day initiate conversations because the more you initiate, the easier it gets and the more natural it becomes. And so let the magnetism begin. And here are the three ways to start conversations. The first way is to compliment and encourage the other person. So, whatever you see or sense about the other that you appreciate, whether it's an outfit, a style, hair, smiles, the way they might sing or dance or move, you can go ahead and make that comment. So, as an example, you might say, that's an amazing workout. I know that when I go to my gym, I always see people who are working out, and it's like, wow, that's so creative. I would never be able to think of doing that, or what they're doing takes so much balance and skill. And so, there are times when I actually watch them and then I'll compliment them afterwards. Or, people nowadays have a lot of tats, and there's a lot of history behind those tats. And so that's another way that I interact and say, wow, that lion or that heart is really a piece of art. What's the story behind it? And then, babies and dogs, puppies are
Always.
always ways to warm up somebody's heart because they always love the compliments of saying, oh, your baby's so adorable. He's so handsome, or she's so beautiful, or same with a pup, your puppy is so well behaved. He's just gorgeous. Tell me about what sort of breed he is or she is. And then the second way is to say something about yourself. Last time, I gave you an example of our friend Rich, who went to a big church and he saw this woman in the parking lot and followed her. And then, as he caught up to her, he said, if you think that someone is following you, you're absolutely right. And so then he introduced himself, and I could do the same in terms of myself. I can say, hello, my name is Mamiko, and I'm just not sure where the meeting room is. You seem to know your way around here. Or, I might say at the grocery store, which is where you meet a lot of people, I don't know how to pick just the right watermelon.
The carrots,
Or
yes, or
I've been
carrots.
admiring your shoes because I've been looking for extra cushioning for my hikes or workout shoes. They look so comfortable and they're so stylish. So anything that you can say about a person and your situation as well as yourself, like saying, I've been looking for shoes like that.
Oh
It's
my
a good
gosh.
way to start the conversation. The third
Exactly.
is
Go ahead.
about a mutual situation that you might be in. So, one of the things that I love to do with my pup is to go on hikes to sunrise. So, I might
Oh,
say, what a beautiful day this is. This hike is just
yeah.
unbelievable. The weather's perfect and the time of day. And it's my first time on the trail. How long does it take you to get to the top? Have you gone to the top? How's this hike for you? I've noticed you on this hike several times.
Uh-huh.
How often do you come? Or if you're at a wedding, then you might make a comment like, the bride and groom look so happy. They look so gorgeous together. Are you a friend of the bride or are you a friend of the groom? How do you know that person? And so it's a conversation starter. And that's all we want to do is we just want to break the ice.
Got it. That's exactly what I always do. I'm very polite myself and I like meeting people, whether it's at the grocery store or anywhere. But I always do like the whole hi, I'm Jill. And I always just go up to people and just introduce myself. But I usually do find a commonality, or it's usually something on their body, whether it's their hair, their makeup, their clothes. And I'm always quick to comment on that. And I just love how people makes them light up. And I'm not being disingenuous. I mean it. And it's just a great way to start to get to know someone by offering a compliment first. Really, it
Right.
is. Yeah.
Right, where they really warm up to you then,
Yeah.
whether it's male or female. And
Yeah.
that's what I want you to know is that you can approach a male or you can approach a female and be able to make a casual but sincere compliment. And that's just such an easy way to start.
Got it. Well, I also know Dr. Mamiko's 7 rules for attracting and developing deeper relationships, right? I want to know more about that.
Okay. I bet you do. I think everybody wants to know the 7 rules for attracting and
Please,
developing
please share. Yes.
relationships. So I'll say these and I'll give each rule an example. And when I get finished, I'll just summarize it. I'll just say what the rules are again, just so that if you want to write it down or you want to earmark it, whatever, then excuse me, so that you can do that. So the rule number one is give your full attention to the other person
Okay.
because the individual will give you crucial information about what they want, their lifestyle, their interests, the type of person that they are. And you can begin to see whether they're open, closed, optimistic, adventurous, and so forth. And so when you show that you have the capacity to
Okay.
be a listener and communicator, that's so important, not just in everyday life for you to attract that love interest or the best friend, but also in sales, because that person is going to tell you everything that you need to know so that you just have to be that exquisite listener to say it back to them so that they realize that you really get it, that you're really listening. And that draws them closer and makes them feel more comfortable. Yeah, just like, you've gone to get a car, right? And somebody jumps
Yeah.
in and starts trying to sell you things without really knowing your history, the type of
Oh,
car you're
whoa.
having, your
Yeah, you feel
budget,
a little attacked.
and all those things and what you want to use it for. And
Hmm.
so I'm saying take the time to really listen to the other person and they'll tell you what they can afford, what they're looking for, and you can much more easily close that sale. The second rule is that whether you're in sales or simply communicating with someone, be aware of pace. And when I talk about pace, I'm talking about your actions, your speed of talking, the messages that you send, so forth, are in harmony, if you will, congruence with the other person. So if you're too pushy and you're just focused on the end goal, you're going to lose the sale. But if you can, let that person know that when they have questions, you'd be happy to talk to them and answer those. You can take them on a tour, you can show them the type of models, so forth. But it's very important that you engage with them and you react in kind to their comments, their actions, so that the other person can be ready for the next steps. So I'm going to give you an example of when I was a psychologist for years. Every once in a while, I would do hypnotherapy. And
Hmm.
that could be for a person who's having pain or
Yep.
someone who um, was going through a lot of depression, anxiety, that sort of thing. And so I teach other methods, but this is one that was kind of like my little secret that I could pull out and it would be relaxing. And because everything that I do is about empowerment, so that you can heal yourself, you can be your best self. And so what I did was in hypnosis, I had to make sure that my suggestions were appropriate, that they were right on pace with the person. So I didn't make the suggestions too quickly, but instead that they were at the right level of a deeper relaxation, hypnotic state, so that their unconscious mind could readily accept the suggestions that I would make. And that's the same thing, is that, some people actually go so far as to mirror somebody else's feelings. So if they smile, you smile, that sort of thing. Or if they nod their head or they come closer, you can come a little closer too. So I'm just saying that you're paying attention not only to the words, but also how quickly or slowly a person is engaging, disclosing, being ready to welcome you and to continue the conversation. So, if you're sharing feelings, as an example, because you're troubled, the worst thing that a friend or a therapist could do is to start to get into the solutions, because sometimes you just need to vent and you need to hear yourself saying about your misery or your pain. And then oftentimes by doing that, you feel relieved, but you also can come up with your own solutions as opposed to having somebody tell you what the action step should be. So that pacing is really a form of respect and a way for you to have a deeper connection with any individual, right? So,
This is
number
deep. Go
3.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Now, I think we could all relate to this, and that is we've all met people that are self-absorbed, and all they can talk about is themselves. They
Oh, I can't
ask
handle that. I know, but I always then
anything
make it about
about
them because
you.
I don't want to jump in. But yes, go ahead. Uh-huh.
Yep. So we've all experienced that. And so what I want you to know is, instead of you nodding, smiling, asking more follow-up questions, this is a dead end. And this is a big, target assigned for you to get the hell out of there. Get
I
out of
love
there.
it.
Don't just walk away. Just leave as soon as you can. Just disengage, because that person is just full of themselves, and you're just pouring your energy and your goodness into a vessel basically that's full of holes. And so I just want you to know that you have the permission to discern whether that person is going to show mutual interest in
Yeah.
you. And when that person does, then you can develop that relationship. But if you can tell in the next few minutes that this relationship isn't going anywhere, then get out. Save yourself the problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you say we do
So
attract like some those that hurt us. Why is that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that first part.
Oh, I thought you said a lot of times we attract partners that kind of invalidate and hurt us.
Okay, so that is something that I'd like to really address later when
Okay, okay,
we get
sorry.
into
Sorry,
unhealthy
jumped the gun. Go
relationships.
ahead.
But I just want to tell you that there's something that's a hook for us,
Ooh,
and as I go through the rest of these rules and some of the characteristics of unhealthy relationships, you'll begin to understand why you tend to attract the same sort of people that don't add value and love and kindness and respect and all that you're yearning for into your life. Okay. So, like I say, number 3 is get away as soon as possible from people that are so self-absorbed. And number 4 is what you see is what you get. Let me repeat that. What you see is what you get. And the reason that I say that is because a lot of women feel like they can change their man. If
yeah.
only I can show him true love and loyalty where all the other partners have cheated on him. No wonder he's afraid to get close. So I'm going to just show him all that kindness and love and show that I really get him. Then he'll change. Well, guess what? You can't ever change a person. So what you see is what you get. And so this is really just kind of false thinking that if I just show caring and I adore him enough,
Yeah.
then he'll turn around, he'll trust me, and he'll know that I won't cheat on him. and or he'll give up being so cynical and mistrusting, or he'll give up being the bad boy where he so wants to use drugs, alcohol, be with his guy friends, and so forth. And as much as we show love and tenderness, it has to be his choice and his actions. And, there's something that's a big hole in that person where he cannot get close to you.
Mm,
If that makes sense, right?
it
And
does.
so number 5 is follow the golden rule, and that is treat others the way you'd like to be treated. And when we show that kindness and respect, to worthy individuals, they reciprocate. And that's the law of reciprocity. And it also involves a concept in psychology called positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever we do when it's received, the other person tends to repeat that behavior. So, if we're being kind and thoughtful, we listen to the other person, the other individual is more likely to show kindness and other acts of love and caring. So, that's why that golden rule really applies. And when you truly love and cherish yourself, you're not willing to surround yourself with people who are self absorbed, self centered, and only call you when something is not right in their lives. How many of us have friends where, when they are broken up with their boyfriend or spouses, then they call us and they want to go out with us and talk and all that. But, in the meantime, we go months, maybe years without even having any sort of context. So it's only when they want something that, and then we feel used, right? So
Yeah.
there's a reason for us to be that caretaker, that giver, and give away all your goodness. And so the last, number 7, is very important. Besides,
Mm-hmm.
rule number 6 is love yourself first, and you become irresistible. So
Oh,
when you feel good about yourself, you take care of your own needs and wants, and you can be assertive, and you can be the person who can be expressing your true thoughts and feelings. And when you love and cherish yourself, like I say, you are willing to surround yourself and know that you have goodness to share and you deserve that goodness and tenderness in kind. And then the last rule, number 7, is simply be yourself. You are good enough. And in order to attract friendship and true love, you must be yourself. Don't be that chameleon who changes. How many of us have had that situation where we meet a friend and we think, oh, this relationship might turn out to be something. And so then we take on the other person's lifestyle and interests and all that, thinking that, okay, this person is going to be more attracted to us because I share that same interest. You may not like dogs, as an example, but you act like you do, or a certain type of food or restaurants, or that you're into certain types of movies or whatever it could be, because you're trying to win that friendship by showing, look at how we have so much in common. And I'm
wow.
just saying, just be yourself, because at some point, when that person gets close enough to you, then that person sees that you are a fraud, that you're very different than what the person thought you were.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is like
Oh,
bringing up such. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Wow.
okay. So just so that our listeners are not confused, let me just go through the rules very
Go ahead.
quickly
I'll
so that I
start.
can go on with some other important.
Yeah.
So the first rule is give your full attention, your undivided attention to the other person or individual, because they give you all kinds of crucial information about themselves, their needs, their wants, and so forth, and how you can respond so that you can get a little closer to that person. The second rule is, whether you're in sales or simply communicating with someone, be aware of pace, how quickly you move, how quickly you get into topics with the other person. I It's interesting because men and women have different body language and interpretations. So I'm going to use an example of where the pace might be a little different, where
Okay.
the woman and the man are on a business trip. They're having a great time conversing over dinner. And so then the woman says, "Hey, this is so much fun. How'd you like to come up to my room?" And so then the man thinks, "Oh, she's invited me to be more intimate. She wants to have sex with me." And the woman is just, saying, "I just want to have fun. This is really great getting to know you." So that's where I'm saying the pace is really different. And if you move in too quickly, you're going to ruin that friendship or the love romantic relationship. And number three is when we meet people that are self-absorbed, then, stop and step back as quickly as you can. And number four is what you see is what you get. You cannot change another person. Number five is follow the golden rule and treat others like the way you'd like to be treated. And then you become irresistible. That's part of the magic. And number six is love yourself first, and you do become irresistible. And because people are just drawn to you. You notice that people are drawn to others that are confident, feel good about themselves, because these are the people that are more cheerful and do more smiling, more engaged, where they are truly interested in you. And the last is number seven, be yourself, because you are good enough for sure.
Oh, beautiful. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. So why
There's
sometimes
a,
do we
there's a lot to talk about today
yeah,
for sure.
but sometimes we do. There are some red flags. We can attract the wrong partner, right?
That's right. And that's what we all yearn for, is to be attracted and to develop that healthy love relationship, to find a soulmate for sure. And unfortunately, as you were saying, we tend to attract people at times that keep repeating some negative patterns in our relationship. And so that's what I want to be able to address now, if
Sure.
that's okay with you.
Sure, sure, sure. So like
Okay.
negative behaviors
So,
can go
so,
ahead.
I know that I mentioned several podcasts ago about a client that I had who really addressed this problem. And I never thought of it this way, but instantly I loved her phrase because I heard her pain and I knew why she was in there seeing me. And the statement that came out of her mouth is, "My picker is broken. My picker is broken." She kept picking the same type of people over and over, and it just didn't go anywhere. In fact, it created more pain and so forth.
Hmm.
So these are some red flags that are there, and you can find those online if you miss the ones that I'm saying, or I can help you with that later. But anyway, one of the things is, do you keep picking the same sort of persons who can't commit, who aren't available emotionally, physically, mentally? So they're just not there. They're kind of like
Interesting.
doing their own thing. And
Hmm.
just when you need them, they disappear. And so that's one type of person. Another might be someone who's emotionally or verbally abusive, criticizes you, puts you down, berates you, tells you that you're not ugly, or that you're ugly, that you're
Hmm.
no good, that nobody else would put up with you. Or someone who tries to control you, and that person is possessive and jealous and tries to keep you away from your friends and your family, so that that partner then becomes your world. And
Yep.
so that happens where your circle of support and love becomes smaller and smaller. You know that you're in a relationship that's really not healthy, and you feel more isolated. And he can talk about you being, mistrusting that he can't trust you, that you're going to cheat on him or her. And what does that partner do? Cheats. So
Wow.
sometimes what we do is we point the finger at the other person rather
Yep.
than looking at ourselves, right? And so that's what I'm talking about, is that this partner cheats on you and doesn't understand or support your feelings, minimizes, ridicules, makes fun of your feelings, and just doesn't understand, and then takes advantage of you in some way. Uh, I can't tell you how many couples I've worked with where one partner will do everything, will do the sexual part, and will give in to whatever the sexual needs of that partner would be, no matter how that person is thinking or feeling, or
Mm-hmm.
totally supports that partner, pays all the rent or the mortgage, all the expenses, and then the partner is staying at home, unemployed, and not contributing, but instead making demands more and more and
Mm-hmm.
more of his or her partner. And also communication.
Mm-hmm.
You have a problem with communication where you can't be real. Because, like I say, it's important for you to be transparent and to be intimate with your partner. You
Yes.
can't talk to that person because they're not going to listen to you or don't have
Mm-mm.
the communication skills. Then again, that's a unhealthy relationship. And are you finding that you and your partner, or especially your partner, becomes more and more irritated with you and it fuels more arguments? Or do you
Yeah.
end up criticizing,
Mm.
blame, and then your arguments also center on not being prioritized, where your partner thinks that you don't give him or her enough attention,
Attention. Oh, yeah.
right? So here are some things that you might want to think about in terms of your own, like, are you looking towards your partner for your own self-worth and dignity?
Mm-hmm.
Are you just focused on the past so that you're repeating, so that when I say that, one of the key issues that I work with is really about infidelity and mistrust. And
Yep.
there's been some partners that uh, betrayed you. And so
Yeah.
this partner is going to do it again. And so
Yep.
you're gun shy. And then again, you keep doing things
Stuck in a
that
rut,
are
the same pattern
self-sabotage,
over and over.
right?
Yep.
You don't trust that person, and the person says, hell, if I'm not being trusted, or she thinks I'm drinking, or she thinks I'm going to be doing drugs, I might as well do it because,
Yep. Oh gosh. Yep.
she already believes me. Or
Oh,
you feel like,
and
you're bored and you have this lifeless relationship.
so
And
true. Well,
so,
unfortunately, we got to
I
wrap it
talk,
up. I'm so sorry. We're out of time. Please.
oh,
Oh gosh. How do we keep our listeners attracted to healthy love? Tell us. Tell us.
okay, so we're going to more to be continued here. But
Oh,
for
wait.
now, if you're struggling with a relationship, I just want you to know that you are invited anytime to a complimentary discovery consultation that's free and it's private. And so just go on my website, actonlove.com. Give me a call, leave me a message, and I'll make sure that I get back with you. And let's get started with the right support, the insight, the tools, and strategies to have love and happiness for a lifetime.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We appreciate it and looking forward to next week. Thank you so much, sweetheart.
Thank you.
I
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.